If the members are ready, we can start now.
Yes, sir, we can start, Sim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Morning. Hello. What I see that you are already in railway account service and
Yes.
probably doing training at Hyderabad. So in that training institute, is it your first batch which is getting trained?
Yes, sir. We were the first batch in our academy, sir. Now we have been posted recently last month itself, sir.
So where have you been posted?
So I've been posted to Eastern Railways in the headquarters itself in Calcutta.
Okay, good. Uh, so we have many panelists of railways. So I will come to your optional subject. You have chose geography as your one of the optional subjects.
Yes,
What
sir.
was the reason for that?
So there were two specific reasons why I chose geography. So the first one was since I was a mechanical engineer, I only had studied that in my graduation. I wanted to explore some other fields since I hadn't read anything apart from science. So that was the one thing. The second thing that I specifically went for geography was that, sir, when I started reading about it, I felt that it touches on every aspect of a nation. It affects the nation's future. It affects the economy. It affects the society. It affects the linguistics. So I think it's a very holistic subject which also talks about geopolity and geostrategy as well. So that was the reason why I zeroed in on this subject, sir.
And people say there are many commonalities with the GS paper also. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the first paper and the third GS paper, they have a lot of syllabus which is very similar to the geography optional syllabus.
All right. So have you focused on this oceanography recently?
Yes, sir. I studied it for mains. Yes.
All right. So can you tell me that a few years back there were a lot of expectation about the ocean resources, and people thought that a lot of things will be replenished from ocean. But the speed with which the people were thinking it 10, 20 years back, that's not picking up. So what are the real handicaps?
Sir, I think that there are three reasons to this. The first one is that we are not that technologically equipped since a lot of resources are at the ocean bed, which is in quite some depth. So it requires a lot of technology, very forward futuristic technology to exploit it, and it is very costly. So developing countries like India, who although have a very long coastline, are not able to use it to their own benefit. So the second thing is the international quarrels that keep on happening. There is always this issue of unclear uh, exclusive economic zones in which there. So, for example, China is trying to hegemonize on its area. So that has produced a lot of quarrel. Thirdly, sir, uh, there is no streamlined agreement, although there is an international seabed authority, but it is powerless, and that is why it has not been able to regulate it properly. So the countries which are much more uh, have a lot of resources are able to exploit it, but other countries are not. So I think that these are the main reasons why we have not been able to exploit resources from seabed.
As at present day scenario, which country you think is exploiting ocean the most?
Sir, I'm not sure of the figures, but I think it might either be USA or China.
Okay. Uh, can you just narrate a small history and changes of in the cartography, and what are the recent technology intervention in the field of cartology?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of it, sir.
Right. So map making is an important point of geography,
Yes, sir.
right? Uh, have you studied this some philosopher for your UPSC paper in geography?
Yes, sir. We had a part of a whole geographical part which was dedicated to it. It was called
So
geographical thought.
yeah. So which philosopher had attracted your attention, and what's the basics of his philosophy?
Sir, I'm not able to recall the philosopher's name. I think it was Makhan, but I'm not sure. But I was very fascinated with the way he has put in the importance of oceans back then. Back in 15th century and the 16th century, land powers were still a thing. They were very, very dominant in their areas, but still this geographer Alfred Mahan comes and he says that the land powers would decline and the powers that would rise in the world would be the ones who would be having control to the oceans. And this is what we have been seeing recently. So I think that it was his prophecy which was uh, very geographic, which is coming to which is coming true right now. So I think, sir, that is one philosopher that I have been influenced with. It was very futuristic of him to uh, write something like that.
Right. Now the last question. You know that monsoon is an important topic in geography. So can you describe the monsoon for a layman? That what is this phenomena? How it is unique? And how have you the study of monsoon? How it has fascinated you?
Sir, monsoon is a seasonal reversal of winds. It happens basically due to the pressure difference, but then a lot of other factors play a role in influencing it. So, for example, one is the Coriolis effect, which deviates the wind from the directions that are blowing in. So, in the northern hemisphere, they start blowing in the right direction towards the eastern side, and in the southern hemisphere, it goes on to the left direction. So what happens is when there is a pressure difference created, since due to the rotation of the earth, the pressure differences are created. There is an area of high pressure and then there is a area of low pressure. So the area with high pressure has outburst of winds as it wants to fill in the low pressure area, but then it passes through the equator and it changes direction because of the Coriolis effect, and thus it makes landfall into various areas like India and Australia.
Have you heard of any such system other than monsoon in any part of the world? Any similar pressure gradient
Yes,
scenario?
yes, sir. So there is this pseudo monsoon which occurs in the Western Africa. So it is very similar to it. It has some features of monsoon, but not completely. So there is not a complete reversal of winds, but still the feature of incessant rainfall in a small time period is what relates it to the monsoon, and it is known as pseudo monsoon in Western Africa.
Right. I'll request Pramod to take over. Pramod, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Please.
Good morning, Alok.
Good morning, sir.
You have also done mechanical engineering, right?
Yes, sir.
And you are now in the field of accounts right now,
Yes, sir.
and very much familiar with the economy also because of your geography, right?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me whether you feel that GDP is the right indicator of the economic development of a country? If not, then what should be the substitute?
Sir, GDP is gross. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, the GDP is gross domestic product. It measures all the output within a financial year of a country. But sir, it misses out on a lot of things. For example, it does not takes into the equation the damage that we have done to the environment. So it does not take into the consideration that cost. It also does not take into consideration the unpaid care work that women have to do. So it is not a holistic picture, sir, but that's the best that we have as of now because the other things are very difficult to quantify. It becomes very subjective in quantifying. So we are this is the closest that we have got to the real numbers, sir. But yeah, it is not a holistic figure, sir.
What about the happiness index or
Yes,
for
sir.
that matter, development index?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
think they are not appropriate?
Yes, sir, they are also very important and they have been neglected time and again. Although there have been different indicators, so we have this cross happiness index, we have a human development index, but it has not been integrated into a single parameter which can show us the complete picture. So I think, sir, there is still a need to study and research more in this field and try to come up with a number with a parameter which can have a much more diverse diverse control on things. It gives us a bird eye view. So that would be better, sir.
We have seen the implementation of Manrega. Do you have any suggestions to improve the functioning of Manrega?
Yes, sir. Sir, there is this one suggestion that I would, if inculcated into the Manrega scheme, would be very helpful. Sir, right now we have been building infrastructure without and there are times when it is not at all needed. So I think that firstly, what should be done is before starting the work of Manrega, there should be a mapping that is to be done in which we can make out the infrastructure deficits in a particular area. Once we have made out the deficits, then we can work on those areas and we can have some targeted projects under Manrega to fulfill that aim. That is, we'll be able to address the supply and the demand side of the equation, sir.
Do you find any role for the district collector in formulation of the strategy for the development and the proper utilization of the Manrega resources, apart from whatever is being told to be done by the higher authorities? Do you
Yes.
think that there is still a scope for him to improve?
Yes, sir. I think since district magistrate is closest to the grassroots, he is the most aware person as to what is lagging in his district and what is correct in his district. So if we are given a scheme which is centralized and which is top to bottom driven, it would address a lot of things, but then again, it would leave a lot of things as well. I think, sir, there should be some area for discretion of district magistrate as well, so that he's able to cater to his own district since he's better equipped with the knowledge of that area. So there has to be some discretion in the Manrega scheme for PMs.
Now, this is my last question. That what do you think about the artificial intelligence? Do you think that it is going to be a problem more than the solution for the underdeveloped countries or the developing countries?
Sir, artificial intelligence is a very futuristic technology, and I don't see it as a problem. But yes, if it is not regulated properly, it might prop up some problems. So, artificial intelligence is something that should be regulated. There are a lot of experts are saying that it would lead to a lot of job losses in a developing country, and it would devastate the economy. But I feel, sir, that it does not give a true picture. The same was said about 1991 IT revolution as well, that it will take away all the jobs. But the only thing that it has done is it has changed our labor composition from unskilled to semi-skilled and skilled people. So I think, sir, when artificial intelligence comes, it would be helpful for a developing economy, given that we are able to regulate it well and we are able to not allow uh, big big technical giants to take over a country's direction that it is going in. So it has to be regulated, sir. But yeah, it's a very important technology to have.
Okay, thank you, Alok. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Arun.
Right, Santosh ji.
Yes, thank you, sir. So, Alok, you are a mechanical engineer, but you pursue geography for your civil services. You are already in Indian Railways. So, first I'll begin with railways. What do you think are the three biggest challenges of Indian Railways today?
So can I take a moment to think about it?
Certainly.
Sir, I think the three biggest challenges are, the first one is the infrastructure deficit that the railways is facing right now. And that is because of the revenue deficit that it is facing. It is not able to generate immense amount of revenue to increase and expand its infrastructure. So the second problem that I feel is there is a lot of quarrel amongst the departments to control assets and resources. So that has time and again created a problem in decision making and fast completion of projects. So that is the other problem. The third one is that we have a lot of manpower at our hand and we are not able to utilize them effectively. So these are the three biggest challenges that Indian Railways is facing.
All right. Uh, since you are pursuing finance, you have been allocated Indian Railway account service. By now, you must have dealt many cases. You must have vetted many cases. I would like to know the basic difference between vetting a proposal and conquering a proposal.
Sir, vetting is something in which, but whenever a financial uh, proposal comes to you, you see that it is economically correct. It does not have any loopholes that are in the tender. There, it is according to the standard operating procedure set by a railway board. Whereas concurrence is something in which you give your approval once it is at the final stage of a proposal. You give your proposal as in that the proposal is adhering to all the norms, and it can be given a go ahead for the project's implementation.
Does it mean vetting is not concurrence?
Sir, it is a step in concurrence, sir. It is a step in concurrence. So vetting is something which comes in midway in the whole process, and concurrence is the final step.
All right. Uh, you have heard of Queensland Coast?
Sir, I'm not sure. Can I take a guess?
Yeah, because you have opted geography. Yeah, you can take a guess.
Sir, if I remember it correctly, it's in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, what is it famous for? The Great Queensland Coast of Australia. What is it famous for?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of it.
Have you heard of coral reefs?
Yes,
Is it anything to do with coral reefs?
sir. Now that you are saying it, I think that it is very near to the Great Barrier Reef, sir. But I'm not sure.
Okay. What is Roche Mautone?
Sir, I'm not able to recall this.
Never mind. Uh, these were certain physical features for physical geography. I was quite interestingly listening to you while you were explaining the certain concepts in geography. Can you explain to me the concept of nation in geography?
Yes, sir. Sir, in geography, the nations are classified either according to their physical boundaries. So, if they are surrounded by either water bodies or rivers or mountains or such things. But in human geography, nations also talk about cultural nations that develop, and it talks about the food habits that they have, the clothing habits that they have, a unique culture that has developed in a particular region, and it is also because of geographical factors itself, but it is a much more indirect manifestation of that. So it talks about natural nations and cultural nations.
What is creative pricing? Alok?
Sir, I'm not aware of creative
Never
pricing.
mind. Never mind. What is deficit financing?
Sir, I'm not aware.
It's okay. Who is your favorite basketball player? Because you play a lot of basketball in India. Who is your favorite basketball player? And any basketball player that you have been inspired globally, you can mention.
Sir, I really like Kartar Singh, but I have followed a lot of LeBron James basketball. He has inspired me, and he has played for various clubs in NBA, and that is what I play as my position. So I very much relate to it, and I draw inspiration from him.
All right. I'm going to ask you a little difficult question. Who do you think is a greater basketball player, Kobe Bryant or Chris Paul?
Sir, what's the second name that you took?
Chris Paul.
Sir, I've not heard of the basketballer's name. Sorry.
Okay. You have a very interesting hobby that you are a rapper. Who is your most favorite rapper globally?
Sir, it's Eminem.
Eminem. Okay. All right. Very nice. One question from your finance background, your present job again. What is the operating ratio of your railway?
Sir, Eastern Railways has quite a high operating ratio. It is around 180.
Sorry?
Sir, Eastern Railway has a quite high operating ratio. It's around 180.
1.8.
180, sir. 180. 180. The operating ratio is 180 in Eastern Railways.
180.
Yes.
Will you explain its meaning? 180 means what? What does it reflect?
Sir, it basically reflects that we have been actually loss making per se, but it is also a sign of cross subsidization since Eastern Railways does not have a lot of loading zones except for a bit of Asansol, and we disburse a lot of pensions. So it takes a major chunk of our finances. So that is why we look like a loss making zone, but it is more of a cross subsidization.
All right. Look, you are SDM of a subdivision. A riot has broken out. And at the same time, while the riot is in a very, very bad shape, you receive an unfortunate call that your mother is terminally ill. What action are you going to take? Please justify with reasons.
So can I take a moment to think about it?
Sure.
Sir, as an SDM, I have a duty to look at the order, public order as well, and also as being a child of my mother, I have a responsibility towards her. So this is a dilemma, sir. I would try to solve this dilemma by using the help of my family. I may call my family members to look after her till I am busy, and I can get the police personnel and the hospital staff at the area of riot so that if any mishappening occurs, they will be able to cover it. And sir, as soon as the riot is under control, I'll go to visit my mother in the hospital.
All right, Alok, my last question. What is inclusive growth?
Sir, any growth which includes the facets of human development is inclusive growth. So it has various components. It would include education as a tool. It would include health as a tool. It would include sanitation. It would include clean drinking water. So anything that has to do with people's life is classified as inclusive growth, along with the economic growth that we make, sir.
All right, over to Chairman, sir.
Right. So, BJ, can you take over?
Yes, thank you, sir. Hi, Alok. Good morning.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Alok. So, you are in railway since
Sir, I joined in December 2019 as
2019.
a officer training. Yes.
Okay, great. So, you must have visited many places in the part of training. So,
Sir, unfortunately, that was not the case since the COVID pandemic happened and we were locked down in our rooms and our houses.
Okay. So, where you got your training? Have you visited some cities?
Sir, we were not able to visit to any of the divisions. We were just in the academy. So we went to the National Academy of Indian Railways in Vadodara first.
Okay.
Then we visited to National Institute of Financial Management in Faridabad. Then we came to our parent academy, that is Indian Railway Institute of Financial Management in Secunderabad. And now we are posted out, sir. So we haven't really visited any division or zones.
Okay, great, great. Okay, Alok, please tell me how many dedicated freight corridors have been announced till now?
Sir, I am only aware of two. I'm not sure if there are more. I am only aware of Eastern dedicated freight corridor and Western dedicated freight corridor.
Okay, do you know something about Golden Quadrilateral?
Yes, sir. Sir, golden quadrilaterals are the railway tracks which have been laid in order to cater to the whole of country. The edges of the quadrilateral are in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Chennai, and in Calcutta. This is how we connect the whole of the nation via the rail corridors.
Okay, can you define DFC?
Sorry, sir.
Can you define DFC?
Yes. Sir, DFC's dedicated freight corridors. This was a dedicated corridor which was made for the transportation of freight loads. So the problem with the normal tracking is that freight load and passenger loads compete with each other, and for due to that, a lot of uh, time losses happen, and due to that industries are not able to make appropriate and enough profit. In order to improve the ease of doing business and in order to improve the logistic uh, transportation of things, we are planning on making a dedicated freight corridor for the same, and it would run the freight transport for us.
Okay, how many zones and divisions are there in Indian Railways?
So there are 17 zones and there are 69 divisions.
69 divisions.
Yes, sir. 69 is what I can recall.
I think it's 68.
I'll check it, sir. I'm not sure. I will
Okay,
check it.
okay, okay. Can you define rainfall divide?
Sorry, sir.
Rainfall divide.
Yes, sir. Sir, rainfall divide is a divide. It is a geographical divide which differentiates the rain pattern within a particular geographical region. For example, in India, the rain divides are Western Ghats. To the west of Western Ghats, we get a lot of rain, and to the east of Western Ghats, it is very drought prone. So, in this, Western Ghats are working as a rain divide. So, it's a geographical area which
What is
influences the.
what is the rainfall quantity we take for this geographical divide?
Sorry, sir.
What is the rainfall quantity we take for this geographical divide?
Sir, I'm not aware.
Okay, why to divide geographical rainfall divide from the north to south? Why not east to west?
Sir, the biggest reason for that is that we have a geographical divide in north and south direction. We have the Vindhyas and the Satpuras, which are at the middle of the country, and they totally control the geography as well as culture of the country, and they have acted as a divide. So it is a geographical divide which has converted into cultural divide as well. So since our Vindhyas and Satpuras are ranged from east to from west to east, that is why we have to divide our rainfall divide into from north in north and south.
Okay, great, great. In morning only I heard that somewhere that 120 rainfall. What does it mean? 120 rainfall. What does it mean?
Sir, I'm not exactly sure of the definition of it.
Okay, recently many people died in USA and Canada. There was some geographical phenomena in news. Can you please name it and define it?
Sir, I'm not aware. I cannot recall the incident.
Okay. Can you define child sex ratio?
Yes. Sir, child sex ratio is the sex ratio of children till the age of 6 years of age. It is an indicator for the future changes in the sex ratio that a country would be seeing.
Okay. Can you define it?
Sir, child sex ratio is the ratio of number of girls per thousand to the age of 6 years divided by the number of boys till the age of 6 years in a country.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, my last question is why there is a recurring flood issues in Bihar?
Sir, I think there are two main reasons for that. The first one is that we have not been able to harness the technology of dam making, and also we have not secured our embankments. We have once created, we have built them and we haven't managed them, and it has broken through. Also, sir, we are encroaching on the riverbed, and it is always dangerous and it would always be flood prone. Since we are a very in Bihar, it is a very agro climatic agriculture is happening. We are growing a lot of rice, and that has to be done in the flood plains. Settlements also come in, so it is also a lot of uh, geographical factor that is affecting itself. So we are not able to change our agricultural type, and we are not able to clean the encroached area of the riverbed, and that is why there are recurring floods.
Okay, okay. One more question from railway. Recently, you must have seen saw in news that zero-based timetabling. So, under this
Yes.
zero-based timetabling, many stoppages of the trains, passenger trains, were removed, and it led to hue and cry of many local areas. So, can you please define zero-based timetabling?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of the definition, but sir, zero-based timetabling is in which the free trains are given that they have been allotted to timetables, and also a lot of small passenger stations have been removed in order to increase the average speed of train. Since with a lot more number of stations, the average speed of the passenger train and the free train would decrease, and that is why this was done, sir.
Done, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anupam?
So, good morning, Alok.
Good morning, sir.
So, Alok, my first question to you would be that, this year we are witnessing that Bihar is receiving such high rainfall, and which is off season as well, which is not, normal for this month, the month of May, May end and June and early July. So, from a geographical point of view, since your option is geography, give me reasons why Bihar is receiving such high rainfall this year.
Sir, the reason for this is climate change due to increased temperature in northern part of the country, and which are unprecedented temperatures. The low pressure that is required to create rainfall, the convectional rainfall, has already reached. It was supposed to come somewhere in the mid of June, but it has pre come because of the hot conditions, and it has created a very strong low air pressure, and that is why, due to the increased pressure difference, the rains that are coming in are also very violent. So that's the reason.
Alok, I could not hear what you said. I think there was a bit of connection problem.
I'll repeat the answer, sir. Sir, I think this was
Just
because of the
the
climate.
second part. Yeah.
Sir, it was because of the climate change. With increased temperature,
Yes.
there is a very strong low pressure difference. So the temperature difference is very strong, and it has preceded the time. So it was supposed to come somewhere in mid-June, but it has earlier come because of the increased temperature uh, due to the carbon-based temperature increasing that is happening. Due to that, it is not only before time, it is also much more violent because of the increased pressure difference and the urge of the high pressure area to fill in the low pressure area. That's the reason for this incessant rain before the season.
Okay. Alok, have you heard about the draft anti-trafficking bill that the government has recently proposed?
Sir, I have heard about it, but I don't remember the salient features of it, sir.
Okay. So, can you define trafficking for me? What exactly is trafficking?
Sir, trafficking is an illegal transport of people without their own choice, without it's an illegal activity to do, and the person who's being transported does not have a choice, but he is being subjugated due to either violence or some other reasons. It is against the
Okay, so
person's will.
yes, yes. So will you count trafficking under organized crimes, Alok?
Yes, sir. Trafficking is an organized crime.
Okay, so can you tell me the linkage between organized crimes like trafficking and terrorism? Is there any linkage which exists between the two?
Yes, sir. There is surely a strong linkage that is happening. Sir, organized crime brings in a lot of money and it has a lot of travel networks. And these networks, these communication networks are used by the terrorists to smuggle arms, to smuggle narcotics, and to generate money for their terrorist activities. So it is like a symbiotic relationship going on, wherein the organized crime is benefited due to the lack of administration, which is there because of the terrorism, and terrorism is benefited because of the communication links of the organized crimes. They go hand in hand.
Alok, I think there is a connection issue from your side.
I'll repeat the answer again, sir. Sir, I think that there is a very strong linkage. Am I audible, sir? Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us.
Your voice keeps going off and on.
But Anupam, we are listening him R5, so doesn't
Okay,
seem to be
okay,
any
sir.
problem
Then
at
I
his
think
side. Yeah.
sir, I think the problem must be at my side then. Okay, okay, Alok, then you don't need to repeat the answer. My next question to you is on Rohtas Durg. So, can you tell me a bit about the significance of Rohtas Durg, the Rohtas fort?
Sir, I'm not aware of this. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Because both of your parents are from there, from
Yes.
Rohtas. Okay, so Alok, you have mentioned rapping as your hobby. So, can you define a rap for me? And can you tell me what is the difference between a rap and a song?
Yes. Sir, rap is a kind of poetry which is done on beats. So, when we talk about differences from a song, although the constituents are pretty much the same, but the emphasis is on different things. For example, in a song, the emphasis is on a lot of vocals, on a lot of music, and comparatively a bit on vocals maybe. But in rap, it is all about content, the delivery, and the flow. So the flow is very important in rap. Whenever a beat is going on, you have to use your delivery, the audio delivery in such a way that it is synchronized with the beats. Also, sir, it also carries a strong social message for whatever society that it comes in. So I think this is the major significance of rap.
Okay, okay. So last question, Alok. We have seen we have witnessed a rising trend of engineers in civil services. So what is your take on this? Do you consider this good or bad? And what do you think is the reason for this trend?
Sir, I don't particularly feel this trend to be bad because engineers in their training are trained in a way in which they are taught to do economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of a particular thing. They are supposed to conceptualize, design, implement, and then manage that system. And this is what we have to do in bureaucracy as well. Having said that, sir, I also feel that there should be a fair representation of people coming in from different streams to have a different point of view. So, sir, engineers coming in is perfectly fine, but it should also be supplemented with people coming in from different walks of life in order to enrich the civil services. Also, sir, I feel that there is one more important aspect to it. Sir, being a technocrat turned a bureaucrat now, when I'll be handling the queries and I'll be dealing with technocrats, I'll be much more aware of the things that they're trying to talk about. So maybe 15 years down the line, India would be a much stronger technical country because of the technocrats turned bureaucrats sitting in the secretariats and the ministries.
Okay, okay. Alok, sir, I am done with my questions. So
Thank you, Anupam. Alok, just a few last questions.
Yes.
Some people have made comments that this Kumbh Mela Ayojan and the elections that was conducted, that were the sole reasons for this second wave. How do you comment on that?
Sir, the conduction of Kumbh Mela and the elections were not desirable at all, and they should have been avoided. But I would not particularly say that these are the sole reasons of the second wave. They are also the reasons because people did not follow any COVID protocols in these activities. But also, sir, the awareness, the lack of awareness that was happening in the uh, the inertia that people had got into since the pandemic is not seeming an end. These are also the factors that have led to increase in number of COVID cases, sir. So alone the Kumbh Mela and elections cannot be blamed, but yes, they are also a factor.
We have been continuously seeing that Maharashtra is one state who is having a number of infections and the number of deaths. Continuously, it's at the top of the list. What are the reasons? What are the issues? Even then, we say that the Bombay model, the second wave has been handled much better. Even then, the state as such is not coming down. The cases are not coming down. The trends are not coming down. What's the reason?
Sir, there are two reasons, I think. The first one is the very high population density in Western and Konkan Maharashtra. People live in very small communities and very close knit communities, and the social distancing is hardly possible. For example, in the Dharavi slums, it is very difficult to do that, sir. The second thing is, sir, that it is also about releasing of data. So, as a lot of reports have shown, there are some states which are not uh, putting in all the data, the COVID deaths that are into public layer. But this can also be a factor that Maharashtra can be a much more transparent that way. So I think that these two reasons can play the role of increased COVID cases in Maharashtra.
People say that post COVID, the life will not be the same. So, what are the important changes you think will come after COVID?
Sir, during the COVID times, we have shifted to online platforms, and after COVID too, I don't see things to change because since a lot of companies have saved on a lot of infrastructure that they used to invest earlier. So I think that the norm would be increased work from home things, but at the same time, it can also lead to a lot of mental distress that people can go around with because they'll not be so forthcoming in going out because there would always be that risk. On the positive side, sir, I see that with increased digitization, the need for transport would decrease and we would be able to save a lot on petroleums maybe, and we'll also be able to protect our environment that way. So I think that the consciousness for environment would develop in the post-COVID world, which it has started doing already.
How it is going to affect the socially and economically backward strata of the society? They have nothing to do much of the digitization right now.
Yes, sir. Sir, they are facing issues and they'll be facing issues, and that is why it is important uh, to remove the digital divide that we are seeing. Also, sir, in the post-COVID world, it is very important for the vulnerable sections to be taken care of. So the sections of migrants should be taken care of. The oldest people should be taken care of. So I think, sir, in the post-COVID world, it is very important for us to increase our social outlay for the vulnerable section.
Right. Thank you, Alok. Now we'll have some general observations about your performance. You have done well. You have a smiling face. You are facing question positively. But see, what is the difference between the other candidates and you? You are already in the service. So you are appearing into interview to get a service of your own choice. So you need to perform much better than the others so that you get some marks more than the others. Now, see what's happening. Now, your optional was geography, and you have come from the engineering background. So, most of the mindset of the board is that you have just crammed the subject and you have produced and you have got mark and you are there. Now, that's why you must have seen that almost all members have tried to explore you on the geography. And if you say that 120 of rain, what does it mean? I don't know. So it's a common sense. I mean, any person appearing for the civil service is supposed to know about that. And so those are the gaps that you have to fill up. there have been glaring gap as far as the knowledge of geography is concerned.
I'll brush it up.
Again, this when the other thing that will be tested to you more about the government policies, that how much you have learned to handle the government policy, and they will ask to provoke you about the decision making and things like that. So when I asked you that why Maharashtra is still number one, and if you say that the other states are manipulating the data and Maharashtra is transparent, so what are the basic information you are having for such a allegation, such a huge allegation that you are making in the state is problem? So you have to be very careful. You are part of the bureaucracy,
Yes, sir.
and if you are not a general person, and if you make such a sweeping allegation against any state government, you have to substantiate with some paper, some news, some article, something, so that you can say that this is one of the reasons that Maharashtra figure is high and other states are bucking the figures. Again, if you define something, you have to take the whole thing into consideration. You are defining trafficking as a human trafficking. So there can be drug trafficking, there can
Yes,
be other bootlegging and other trafficking. So when you
Yes.
define a word, neutral word, so it's not that the human without his human, that you are defining human trafficking, you're not defining the
Right.
trafficking per se. So you have to be slightly cautious about the things. And many of the hobby parts, again, that if you write basketball, then you have to be much thorough about the thing. So that part also needs to be slightly brushed up. Wrapping, again, the questions came, that's right, okay. But there can be many questions on that, and you have to slightly be better prepared for that. So it's not that you have not done well. So that your expectation from you will be much more higher than a person who is appearing first time in the interview. So that's why you have to perform much better, and you're sure you can do it. So wish you all the best, and I request my other co-panelists to start with Sri Pramod Kumar to comment on the performance of Sri Alok Singh. Pramod, are you there? Yeah.
Alok, I agree with Arun
Yes, sir.
that expectation from you will be much, much more.
Yes, sir.
And I think you have answered properly so far as my questions were concerned. But then I found that you were slightly not as prepared as you should have been in your subject, that is geography.
Okay, sir.
And you are expected to know certain things. Your strength was that you handled the question with ease, no doubt. That is your great asset, because normally people become nervous, but you handle the scenario quite well. And when you are part of bureaucracy, obviously your answer should be, bureaucracy has its own norms. In conformity with that, so more or less, I think you have done well. Just prepare a little more, and you will definitely do very well. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Santosh ji.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, Alok, uh, Alok, when people say that your knowledge has already been tested and it is a test of personality, partially it is correct. But at the same time, they expect answers for certain basic questions. So, not having an idea about Queensland Coast, Australia, may not be taken in good taste. Similarly, as Arun said that more will be expected out of you. So knowing more about your railway, about your profession, when you said that you cannot explain deficit financing or creative pricing, or when you could not explain the actual difference between vetting and concurrence, may not be taken in good spirit by the board. So yes, but your strength is that you have a very pleasant appearance. You took questions with a lot of confidence. You kept smiling despite not knowing certain questions. You answered assertively. If you did not know, you said, I do not know. But at the same time, you will have to know a lot about geography and, of course, about your railway and your job. So, all the best.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Santoshji. Vijay.
Sure. So Alok, so my first comment to you is, look, you may get more questions from railways, and we have not touched many areas which were very much in news, like the removal of civil services from Indian Railways. Okay, and what are the modes of conducting exams in future, and the debate and so on. Okay, then come to railway, infrastructure, network, presence of railway in northeastern state, in Himalayan state. Okay, so these all things you just get clear about. So basically, you are from account, but you don't think that they will restrict themselves to accounting questions only. They may ask many questions from Indian Railways because it's always a hot topic. Okay, so just go through it properly and read
Sure.
some report of Indian Railways to get a holistic glimpse. Okay, so the recent report about railway reforms, you just go through it. And I asked some questions like DFC and how many DFC that has been announced. Okay, so you just go through it. It was not the proper
Yes.
answer because Eastern DFC, Western DFC, then East Coast DFC. Okay, so there are many DFCs that have been
Okay.
announced. So again, I asked the rainfall divide, and I asked one tricky question that why rainfall divide is from north to south, why not east to west? So in all geographic books you will read that north to south, but why it is so? Because you know that rainfall that enters in our country, that comes from two sides. One is from eastern side and one is from western side. And when it comes to rainfall divide, it just gets finished. Okay, so that point becomes divide. It's not the Aravalli and not the Himalaya that creates the rainfall divides. Okay, the next questions I asked that some geographical phenomena in US and Canada. It was a
Yes, sir.
heat dome. So heat dome was very much in news. So just go through it and explain it properly to the board.
Sure.
Okay, then next question I asked that recurring problem of flood in Bihar. Okay, so whenever some geographical question asked from you, then try to give the answer in the form of geographical, wording. Geographical wording, like use the term like topography. Okay, then monsoon, then river profile, etc. And some bit of our elevation of Nepal and Himalaya and Bihar. So in this way, you just try to define in the geographical terms rather than just defining in a general way. And then I ask my last questions like zero-based timetabling. Zero-based timetabling, it is very much in news because whenever we are just removing one stoppage of a train at a station, there is a hue and cry, and many MP and MLA, they are representing us that this removals should be taken back, and there is a lot of law and order problem at a station, and this is increasing day by day because slowly and gradually we are just removing the stoppages. Okay, so zero based timetabling was basically to cut down the excess time that was provided to the long distance train, and we are cutting down from 30 minutes to 6 hours from a long distance train. So if you are cutting down the time of a running train, then definitely you are going to remove some of the stoppages. That is not commercially viable. But for that reason, obviously, you cannot completely say that it was not commercial viable, and some of the economic activities definitely go at that place. So in this way, around 6,000 unremunerative stoppages are removed. So this is going to be a huge problem in days to come as soon as we are going to introduce the normal train operations. So this will create a lot of problem for us. So this was zero-based timetabling. Then on operating ratio, like Santosh sir asked questions on that. Operating ratio, network of railway, network expansion, accrual-based accounting, zero-based accounting. These all questions are very probable that may be asked from you. And 69 zones divisions are not there. It's a 68 only. So you just go and check it once. And presence of railway in Kolkata. Presence of railway in Kolkata, because Kolkata Metro, apart from two zonal headquarters, one is of Eastern Railway and one is for Southeastern Railway. Then Southeastern Railway, and that line is very important for Western India and Southern India. So that connects Western India, Southern India to Northeast India and Eastern India. So just have bullet points on that, so that you can give your answer in a holistic manner. Okay, so just go through it, and whenever you have any doubt, you just ask questions. We are there to answer it. And overall, your appearance is good. Your appearance is good. You had a smile throughout your interview, so it's a very good sign. And you are definitely calm and composed. But no doubt, there is expectations more from you. So this is what from my side.
I'll work on it, sir. Sure,
Yeah.
sir.
Anupam?
Sir. So Alok, first of all, I would like to talk about your strengths. You have a very, I would say, pleasing personality. You have a smile over your face, and you answer questions. You take the appropriate amount of pauses that need to be there in one or two questions, which were kind of trick questions or where a bit of thinking was required. So you even asked that, sir, may I be allowed to think for a moment, which is good, which I think is good because it will allow you to answer your plan and answer your questions more meticulously. So that is a good thing. Also, your overall demeanor conveys confidence and calmness at the same time, which is good. So these are all your strengths. However, as Arun sir and our other seniors also pointed out, because you are already in services, so the expectations from you will be slightly higher as compared to the other candidates, and that is where a bit of problem might arise, because on one side your personality is something which is a bit of a pleasing or charming personality, but there are gaps in knowledge which can lead to lessening of your marks a bit. For example, as was pointed out by our seniors, that geography, so because it is your optional subject, you are expected to be very thorough with it, extremely thorough with it. And similarly in your DAF, so like you have mentioned basketball 4 times, among your your extracurriculars, sports, everything. So if you are mentioning a thing so many times, it is expected that you know the ins and outs of it completely.
Yes, sir.
You have to know everything, the famous players, the strategies, the basketball scenario in India, abroad. So you have to be very, very thorough with it. And even in your hobby, because you have only mentioned rapping, because you have mentioned only one thing, so it is very probable that a question from rapping might be asked from you. So you have to see that all these areas are very thoroughly prepared. And because you are a good candidate, because you are someone who's not lacking on the, let's say, on the speaking front, there are gaps only on the knowledge side. So it is I expect that you will get very good marks. Just fill up these gaps on the optional side, on the knowledge side on your DAF, and I have very high hopes from you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Anupam.
much for the kind
Thank
words.
you.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you,
thank
sir.
Alok. Thank you so much. You are certainly going to do perform very well. We wish you all the best and do well.